On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well."
So Jesus' teachings and Jesus' prayers and Jesus' life and ministry teach us so many things about how we step out into life and participate with God all around us in life. Today we are concentrating on Jesus' healing, his healing of the 10 lepers. And there's something about this story that has always made me a bit uneasy. And that is, why didn't Jesus heal the lepers right there and then and get his thanks while they were there? Right? If Jesus wanted to do that, Jesus could have done that, right? So why would you heal the people on their way back to the synagogue to see the priest, only to make them return to you to give their thanks? I mean, why not heal them right there so that they knew they were healed and they could give their thanks while they were there before they went back to the community? Right? That would make sense. So I've been thinking about how Jesus said those words. "We're not 10 made clean, but the other 9, where are they?" Doesn't that sound like he's a bit angry there? Doesn't that sound as if God really, or Jesus really expected all 10 of the lepers to come back and say thank you? Now, isn't that a bit harsh, considering they had to go all the way back to the community and the synagogue and then turn around and come all the way back just to say thank you? So why not make it a little bit easier? I mean, he was healing them. He must have already had compassion for them. Why make them walk twice the distance? So I've been thinking about what happens if we change our way of thinking just a little bit about how Jesus might have said this phrase. And instead of it being an angry demand about where were they and why didn't they come back, as if they're incredibly ungrateful people, right? Maybe we can think about it this way. We're not 10 made clean, but the other 9. I wonder what they are doing now. Now that they're whole, now that they're restored, now that they're free of their illness and they're free to re-enter the community which had outcast them from their illness, how are they living their lives? To me, that changes what Jesus is trying to do. Because the whole goal in this is gratitude, right? That's what we're thinking about. But it's also the restoration of a life, and gratitude being that response to that restoration. So as they go and they are made well, and they have to stand before a priest to declare that they are in fact clean and can return to the community, they are grateful. And from that point on, every step they take is a walk further into their life. The life that God gave them to start with. The life that has been on hold the whole time that they have been sick. So let's imagine with Jesus and wonder about the life of some of those other 9. Maybe one of those 9 is a parent who went back to their children, right? To live the life of their family that they were created to live. And imagine the stories that that parent then tells and shares with the children. The stories about being removed from their community, from the people they love, from their family because of their illness, and thought they'd never see again, and yet they received mercy from God and were made whole again, restored to the life that they were born to. Lived experience of that mercy is the best teacher ever. And those children who are listening to those stories, who now have a parent return to them, are going to continue to tell that story and share with other people that mercy of what it feels like to be left alone, to be lonely in the middle of a crowd even. That life has been renewed and continues to renew the life of others as it grows. Perhaps one of the other 9 is a carpenter, a builder. And in their gratitude, they return to their life and begin building homes for people who might not otherwise have homes, who might not otherwise have a way to shelter their families from the cold or the storms or those unpredicted things in life. Perhaps that is a life lived in gratitude, reaching out to others, providing a way for them when there was no other way. Or perhaps one of those 9 was so grateful that when they returned to the priest to declare themselves clean, they stayed there and studied and prayed and told everyone about God's mercy, about their healing, and God's welcoming them back into the community, that restoration of life. Those are lives well lived in gratitude. So would Jesus really say, do they not give praise to God for this healing? Because living a life of gratitude is the most sincere form of thanks. So how do we who are also restored by Jesus, through Jesus, to live a life of gratitude, how do we share our thanks with God in the lives that we lead, in community with one another and even individually? How will we step out? Will we be people who tell others about our faith and the mercy that we've been shown? Will we be good parents who share mercy and love with our children so that they grow up strong and merciful to others? Might we be the people that reach out to feed and clothe and shelter those who can't or don't have the opportunity to do so for themselves? Will we be those who nurture the community and build it up instead of asking people to choose sides? How can we step out in gratitude for God's love, for God's mercy that's shown to us? In the next several minutes, there are several different pieces of art that are all based on the theme of gratitude. I also have 12 quotes about gratitude from all different walks of poets and novelists and all kinds of things that I'd like to read to you. So as we go through this meditation, I am asking that you please think on that question. How do you live your life in thanks to God? At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with great, deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Albert Schweitzer. Let us be grateful to people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. Marcel Proust. We can only be said to be alive in those moments when our hearts are conscious of treasures. Thornton Wilder. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. Albert Einstein. Gratitude can transform common days into Thanksgivings, turn routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings. William Arthur Ward. Take full account of the excellencies which you possess, and in gratitude remember how you would hanker after them if you had them not. Marcus Aurelius. We often take for granted the very things that most deserve our gratitude. Cynthia Osick. Can you see the holiness in those things you take for granted? A paved road or a washing machine? If you concentrate on finding what is good in every situation, you will discover that your life will suddenly be filled with gratitude, a feeling that nurtures the soul. Rabbi Harold Kushner. When we become more fully aware that our success is due in large measure to the loyalty, helpfulness, and encouragement we have received from others, our desire grows to pass on similar gifts. Gratitude spurs us on to prove ourselves worthy of what others have done for us. The spirit of gratitude is a powerful energizer. Wilford A. Peterson. Thou hast given so much to me. Give one thing more, a grateful heart. Not thankful when it pleaseth me, as if thy blessings had spare days, but such a heart whose pulse may be thy praise. George Herbert. If the only prayer you say in your life is thank you, that would suffice. Meister Eckhart. Find the good and praise it. Alex Haley. In grace, in thanks, we enter life. Amen.
Larry Weiss up to share a personal story of gratitude. And we're not going to make him go up the stairs.
Not ready for stairs. Yeah, that's week 6. Good morning to all. I sincerely am glad to be here with you this morning, but more so than that, I am grateful to have been here for the last 16 years. And I want to tell you a story about that. When Chris called and asked if I would be willing to share my story of gratitude, I jumped on it. I took her offer immediately. So it's a bit of a long story, and I'll shorten it up, but about 16 years ago, Mary Jo and I were having just the best time of our lives. We both had the jobs of our dreams. We lived where we wanted to live. We were close to our kids and family, and life couldn't be sweeter. But my back started to hurt. And just like any red-blooded American 50-year-old, I went into denial, like we all would. Oh, it doesn't hurt that bad. Oh, it'll be better tomorrow, type of a mindset. But it really didn't get better. It got much worse. And so I was referred to pain management specialist to help me deal with the pain, and went through a regimen of many, many visits to the pain management specialist for injections, for opioids, for nerve therapy, and finally we found the right concoction, and I was able to move on. But my health got worse because my back was failing. And so ultimately I had to have my back fused together. And so we go through that whole process, and again, back to the pain management specialist as a follow-up. And that took a few months till we got that right. And I started on a life of living with opioids, and got to the point where my physical health was back, but my mental health was leaving me because of this lifestyle. So I got a big slap in the face when I went to my last visit, as it turned out, to the pain management specialist that looked me in the eye and said, "This is the life you're going to lead, accept it, and move on. And by the way, I have some good news for you. I want to install a morphine pump in your back, so it's more convenient than having to take oral medication every day." So that was the wake-up call that I needed, because right then and there I decided I'm not going to continue on this path. So from there I got hooked up with a psychiatrist that had skills that the pain management folks do not have. And ultimately, he applied for a place, and I was accepted at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, if folks are familiar with that. And I was enrolled in a program called the CBT program, and that stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. If you get a chance, Google that sometime, and you'll find all sorts of things you didn't know before. But that program at the Mayo was a 6-week program. Actually lived there for 6 weeks. Every day was a regiment. It was scheduled hour by hour with different steps of the program. But the initial steps were for us to identify why we were there. And by the way, I was in a group of about 20 people that joined the program, and some left and some joined, but it was about 20 core people. And Mary Jo was able to join me through most of the therapy as well. So that was great. But we all had one thing in common, and that was that we were all dependent on opioids. And we had to come to the conclusion and believe that we were all drug addicts. We had strong addictions. Although they were prescribed prescriptions, they were legal, but we were definitely addicts, and we all wanted to change our lifestyle. So the Mayo Clinic program for CBT is a tough love program. And when I say that, the people that were there were wonderful, but it was a no whining zone, if you know what I mean. They wouldn't give you a grain of sympathy, but that was part of the shtick. My arm fell off. Well, push it to the side so no one trips, was kind of their attitude. But yeah, that's what the program needed for it to succeed. And the program is made up of a fair amount of group therapy, a lot of meditation, yoga, meeting with a panel of physicians that you've been assigned to, and coming to the realization that we can change our lives. We can live without the opioids, but we had to learn why we were acting the way we were, our behavior. And the fact of the matter is, we learned of our pain behaviors. And we all have pain behaviors, it's part of us. But people that have pain live from behavior to behavior. Let's go to the ball game. Oh yeah, except for those are hard seats, and my butt will hurt, and then I won't have good sleep tonight, and then tomorrow I'll probably have to take a nap. That's an extreme, but that is a mindset of people that have pain behaviors. And so we learned about them, and we learned how to manage them instead of them managing us. And ultimately, it worked. I came out of that program drug-free, no longer addicted, and I had control of my life. And that was 16 years ago. And to this day, I can't tell you how grateful I am to getting those 16 years in this life as opposed to the one that I was trapped in. All of you know people that are in that situation some way or another. They're dependent upon drugs for pain management, and they're living a lifestyle that's not the one they've chosen. There's a lot of folks like that. Pain management specialists only have the one tool in their toolbox, quite frankly, and it's drugs. It is nothing else but drugs. They are very limited, but the psychiatrists and psychotherapists of the world know of CBT, and that's their toolbox. That's their first step forward. And those are the folks that are going to help people that were trapped just like I was. So I am extremely grateful for my life these days. I'm grateful for a lot of things, but mostly that I got my life back. And I'm also grateful for this church because it's a vehicle for me that I can do what I can do to repay the gratitude for that change in my life. we retired 2 years ago, and as most of you know, Missouri is our home, but we're here, and we're staying here, and it's because of this charitable community that we're involved with. So that's my story, short and sweet, but I am sincerely grateful for that change in my life 16 years ago. So thank you.
Sounds like a huge sense of freedom.
That's an understatement, Will. Quite frankly, it's a change of life, truly a change of life. I will never, nor have I been through anything that is that significant in my life.
And I was thinking earlier that, that idea that we have behaviors based on different pains that aren't just physical, they're not just from traps we've gotten into, but emotional, spiritual even, that we have these behaviors based on the pain of those that we could be free from.
That's absolutely correct. CBT, and again, I encourage you to spend a few minutes looking it up, is used for much, much more than just pain management or resolving pain behaviors. It's used in a lot of different fashions, from what I went through to depression, diet issues, losing weight, just many, many things. So it's not specific to what it did for me. Yes.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Instead of a pastoral prayer today, we'd like to talk about intercessory prayer. At 9 o'clock, we do prayers of the community, the prayers of this congregation, and the prayers of the people. And we substituted that today as well for intercessory prayer. This is a time for us to come together and pray for one another. So I'm going to ask you to participate with me in that by finding somebody near you who you'll be able to lay a hand on later, but to be a prayer partner with. So turn to a neighbor and find somebody who you will agree to pray for, not only today, but throughout the week. And then take some time to think about what it is you would like them to pray for you for, and have them tell you what they would like you to pray for them. Okay, we'll take a couple minutes, and then we'll come back and I'll lead you through a guided intercessory prayer. Okay, let us come back together. And I'm going to ask that you place a hand on each other's shoulders, or just hold hands maybe, as we begin our prayer with one another. This is a type of prayer that understands that God loves us and allows us to reach out to one another in love. So I'm going to ask that you take a deep breath in and let it out slowly, centering yourself in quietness. Continue to breathe and seek that place inside of you where you've experienced what it means to be loved. That place inside where you have received restoration and mercy, where you feel calm and safe and loved. In this space that you've identified, picture the person that has asked for your prayer. Surround their image with the love that you feel in this safe and calm place. Consider this person's request for prayer. If it is a prayer for health, then find that part for which they would like prayer in your own body. And gather some energy in that space. Call forth its strength. If it is a request to ease anxiety about a job or finances or concern for a loved one, then find that place in you where your own calm is the strongest. Gather that energy and draw from its strength. Once you have built up the strength in those areas, let it circle, let the energy form and grow. Let it bubble up to the surface. Call forth that strength, that energy, and send it to the person you are praying for. Whatever that person's request, find that part inside of you and build the energy of your prayer, drawing from your own strength and sending it to them. For a prayer of health, remember that you are lending your strength to the other for healing. It's not a prayer for cure, but for wholeness, for restoration, for strength in who they are. If it's a prayer addressing anxiety, remember we are not praying that this person would find a job or come into a windfall of money somehow, but rather that their anxiety about their job or their finances or family do not cause them undue anxiety. Pray that they are able to draw from their own sense of calm, no matter what their situation may be. O God, our Creator and Redeemer and Sustainer, hold us in the power of your love, in the energy of your Spirit that moves us into full participation of life. Help us to hold each other in prayer this week and always, that together we can draw from our strengths and step into an abundant life that you have given for us all. Amen. This table of communion is God's table of restoration of life. This is a healing table. This is a table that restores us to one another in communion with one another. A table that reminds us that in the night in which he was betrayed, our Lord took bread, gave thanks, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And again, after supper, he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to all to drink, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, shed for you and for all people. Do this as often as you eat and drink of it in remembrance of me." This is God's table of gift to us for a life lived in gratitude and abundance. We have servers who are here to prepare the meal, and as they come forward, I'll remind you that you do not have to be a member of this community in order to partake in this meal. All you have to do is feel God's Spirit calling you forward, and you're able to participate with us. If you'd like to participate from where you are, just raise your hand and one of our servers will serve you there. We also have gluten-free bread available at your request. Also, as we come forward to take this communion, you can continue on if you'd like. We have Stephen ministers who are here with us today. Margie Bolte and Jerry Brown will be at either side of the sanctuary and are available for your prayers. You can continue on through communion and then move around to them, and they will pray with you. This is how our community acts together in gratitude, by supporting each other in our strengths and our love. These are the gifts of God for the people of God. Let us remind ourselves who we are. We are an open, inclusive, open, and affirming family of faith, welcoming all to God's table of love and acceptance. We are diverse, yet united by Christ's example. We care for one another, support one another, and challenge one another to become all that God creates us to be. We work together to nurture our community and to promote peace and justice in our conflicted world. Please come.